Good evening. This is the Planning Commission meeting for April 15th. And first item is roll call.
Chair Peterson.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Chase.
Here.
Commissioner Samet.
Here.
Commissioner Mishra.
Here.
Commissioner Biasotti.
Here.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask Commissioner Biasotti to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is communications, and to start off, I'd like to recognize Councilperson Irene O'Connell is here. She's the liaison on the liaison committee from the council to the Planning Commission. Nice to see you. And communications staff, do you have some comments?
Yes, staff does. Chair Peterson, I'd like to announce that since your last meeting, that Commissioner Marshall has submitted his letter of resignation from the Planning Commission, and that was received and accepted by the City Council. At this point, Commissioner Marshall will no longer serve on the Planning Commission, and the city will undergo a process of recruitment to fill that position over the next weeks, and the position will be filled. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to recognize Commissioner Marshall and his years of service. I'm sure everybody here agrees that he did a great job and will be very much missed. And I understand his decision had to do with increasing frequency of conflicts of interest, so it's not an easy decision to make, but I believe it was had a good basis. I skipped over agenda item number 1, approval of the minutes.
Chair.
Commissioner Biasotti.
Motion that we approve the minutes for March 4th, 2014.
And a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now moving on to agenda item number 3, which is public comment on items not on the agenda. Is there any member of the public that has an item to discuss that or to present that is not on the agenda? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4, announcement of conflict of interest. Do any of the commissioners have a conflict of interest on any of the business items tonight?
Through the chair.
Biasotti?
I have a conflict on 116 Santa Domingo. I live down the street.
Okay. When we get there, in case it slips my mind, please let me know so you can recuse yourself.
Will do.
Thank you. Any others? Okay, moving on to agenda item 5. 5A is 772 4th Avenue. It's a request for a use permit to allow the construction of addition which increases the gross floor area of the existing home by greater than 50% and exceeds the .55 FAR guideline, which is .78 per section 12230B1, 12230B2, respectively, of the San Bruno Municipal Code. Staff report, please.
Thank you and good evening. As stated, the applicant has applied for a use permit to construct an addition to an existing single-family dwelling. The site is located on the east side of 4th Avenue, just south of San Bruno Avenue, and is currently developed with a single-family dwelling. There's a total of 2,066 square feet of living area and a 420 square foot garage. The Planning Commission did approve a use permit application in 2003 to exceed the .55 FAR guideline. That addition did amount to 641 square feet and included a playroom, prayer room, and 2 bathrooms. And if you look at the floor plans, that addition will be located towards the rear of the existing home. The application before us tonight is for a second-story addition amounting to 356 square feet. It will contain 1 master bedroom and 1 bathroom. Due to the split-level nature of the home, there are 3 existing sets of stairs within the house. The existing stairwell located to the rear of the existing single-family dwelling will be expanded upon to provide access to that master bedroom. The bedroom above the garage would also be converted into 2 separate bedrooms. If approved and constructed, the home would contain 5 bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms. The project was reviewed at the February Architecture Review Committee meeting, and at that meeting, the Architecture Review Committee noted that the proposed project had a rather high FAR, but did forward the project onto the Planning Commission with 2 recommendations. The first recommendation was to include a green building statement, and the applicant has since submitted that green building statement, and it's included as an exhibit within your staff report, and that's Exhibit C. The second recommendation was to reach out to the neighbor located directly to the south of the subject site. And this was due to the fact that there was a large window proposed on the south side elevation, which could potentially have a privacy impact. The actual applicant did reach out to that property owner, and we did receive a letter from that property owner stating that they were not opposed to the proposed addition. And that letter was distributed just to the start of this meeting. As stated, a use permit is required because the gross floor area of the home would increase by more than 50% cumulatively. Additionally, a use permit is also required because the proposal is exceeding the 0.55 FAR guideline. It is coming in at 0.78, and staff does realize that this is a relatively high FAR, but we are recommending approval based on a number of different factors. One has to do with overall neighborhood context. 2 is the overall shape and size of the lot. 3 is the overall, we find that the proposed addition is consistent with the residential design guidelines. And lastly, staff is in favor of the improvements that will be made to parking and landscaping on site. Regarding the overall neighborhood context, if you could refer to an exhibit within your staff report. It's Exhibit D. It's an 11 by 17 exhibit. It's kind of an aerial image of the overall neighborhood. You'll notice that the subject site is represented and is surrounded by a red barrier, and it's triangular in nature. And I would like to point out the subject site is in the R1 district. However, the site itself abuts the C General Commercial District. So looking at the exhibit, there are 3 specific land uses adjacent to the site. There's a multifamily residential use, a car rental business, and another multifamily residential use. That's located directly to the north of the site. The remainder of the area consists of single-family dwellings to the south. Given the overall neighborhood context and the development pattern, staff does find that the home would blend in with the existing neighborhood. Essentially, the home would kind of essentially act as a point of transition, separating the commercial and multifamily residential uses from the more traditional single-family residential neighborhood to the south. Regarding the size and shape of the lot, it is not uncommon to see higher FARs on substandard lots. In this particular instance, the lot is triangular in shape. It's 3,255 square feet. Due to this reason and the other reasons, staff is in support of this specific FAR threshold that's being proposed tonight. Regarding the residential design guidelines, it is important to note that the existing home and the 2003 addition were not subject to the residential design guidelines. However, the proposed addition is subject to the guidelines. Staff does find that the proposed addition on its own is consistent with those guidelines. The second story addition is set back from the first story below on 3 of the 4 elevations, which is a common facade articulation technique that's outlined within the guidelines. Additionally, the addition will incorporate stucco finish and stucco window trim, which matches the existing single-family home. Regarding parking, there technically are 2 parking spaces required, and the home does contain a 420 square foot garage. However, there are a number of appliances and cabinets that currently encroach into that garage area. Therefore, only 1 car can currently park in that garage. As a result of this project, the applicant is proposing to remove the cabinets and the appliances to ensure that 2 cars will fit in a side-by-side fashion. Additionally, I would like to point out that 2 additional vehicles would be able to park in the driveway. So essentially, the applicant would have the ability to park 4 vehicles on site if need be. Lastly, regarding landscaping, we do have, as you know, a municipal code requirement that requires 15% of the lot to be landscaped. And additionally, we have a requirement that no more than 80% of the lot shall consist of impervious surfaces. Right now, the current proposal is not meeting that 15% marker. However, the applicant is proposing to increase the amount of landscaping within the front yard and in the rear yard. And they will be meeting the minimum municipal code requirement for landscaping. Comes out to 17%. However, as proposed, they are still exceeding that 80% impervious surface threshold. So staff has included a custom condition of approval. If the project is approved tonight, at the time of building permit submittal, they will have to submit a revised landscaping plan to increase the amount of pervious surfaces on site. Staff did send a courtesy notice and a 300-foot legal notice. We received one comment from a concerned property owner. That property owner felt that the site was already overbuilt and was not consistent with the overall residential character of the neighborhood. That property owner was also concerned with privacy and parking impacts. Staff discussed these concerns at length with the concerned property owner and explained staff's position that the proposal is consistent with the overall development pattern of the neighborhood. Regarding privacy, there are 3 separate windows proposed, of which only one of those windows could have a privacy impact. However, staff did receive a letter of support from that south side neighbor. Regarding parking, as previously noted, the applicant will be removing the appliances and cabinets to ensure that 2 cars can fit in a side-by-side fashion. Overall, staff does support the project, and we would recommend that the Planning Commission approve the project based on findings of fact 1 through 6 and conditions of approval 1 through 26. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
So the provision, the condition that you propose to add on landscaping would be condition 27, right?
That condition is actually already included within the staff report, and it's included as condition of approval number 9. And it strictly calls out, prior to final inspection, the site shall be landscaped according to the plans approved by the Planning Commission on April 15, 2014, and any site landscaping damage during the construction shall be replanted to the satisfaction of the Community Development Director. It goes on to say, at the time of building permit submittal, the applicant shall revise the landscaping plan to ensure no more than 80% of the lot consists of impervious surfaces.
Thank you. And when you, in your initial remarks, you said the architectural review meeting that was held on the project was held in February, but the report says March. I'm assuming March is correct?
March is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have a question for staff before
Through
the
the
public
chair.
hearing? Excuse me?
Through the chair.
Oh, Commissioner Biassatti.
In regard to the .78 floor area ratio, it's a substandard lot. So by my calculations, with a 5,000-foot standard lot, it'd be 5.6. Does that sound about right?
I'd have to do the math, but essentially what we would do is take the proposed floor area and divide it by 5,000.
Yeah, I come up with 5.6. So we're within the range of a standard-sized lot development that we've been working with.
So I guess what's important to note, for a standard 5,000 square foot lot, the maximum would be 2,750, so 2,750 square feet. So even on a 5,000 square foot lot, this would be exceeding that specific .55 threshold.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you very much. Are there, I'd like to open the public hearing and ask the applicant to please come to the podium first, and then we'll receive comments from any other members of the public. Is the applicant present? Thank you. Please give your name and street name.
My name is Luis Robles. I'm the architect for the project, and I also have the property owner here with me, Mr. Ravine.
Good evening. My name is Raveen Charitra. Property address is 772 4th Avenue. And,
Please make any comments you wish. You're not required to. It's your choice.
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me speak upon this project. Basically, with the growing family I have, my kids need their own space. I've been in this community for 12 years plus. I see a lot of things that I like. I work for United Airlines. I really work really close to my work, whereas, travel-wise, I won't really be missing, how do you say, sorry. By the time I go to work, it's not that much, what do you say, footstep or excuse me, I'm sorry. I'll let Luis take over.
Basically, what it is Praveen's been working with United Airlines for over 23 years, roughly. And like he says, he's been at this house for 12, so his basic footprint is very small. So the current footprint, as we say. And he would like to stay there because when he comes from work, he's got plenty of time to take care of the family, the children, with the school route and what have you. And also, he would like to, when he retires from United, he likes to stay in the area too, because he won't have to go too far for his travel vouchers to fly out to different places, right? So he's decreasing his footprint.
I mean, with that, I'm sorry. I'm just nervous being up in front of you talking to you guys. There's a lot of things, like I said, this community has developed, a new BART, Amtrak station, Indian community in this neighborhood is just right next door to us, shopping center, everything is right here. So, my daughter, basically, she grew up in San Bruno town. I have no issues with this town. I love this place.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. If there are any questions.
Are there any questions of the commission?
Yeah, to the chair.
Commissioner Samud.
Luis, on the, I know there's going to be a limited amount of demolition on this. Is there any plan to recycle any of the materials from the demolition as part of the green?
Well, definitely, because we're going to be following what they call the best management practices, and they encourage that. So anything that we could recycle, instead of just throwing away or backfilling a hole, we'll do that, definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any members of the public who would like to comment on the application? Okay, seeing none, without objection, I'll close the public hearing, bring the matter back to the commission for discussion and a motion.
Through the chair. If
Commissioner Chase?
there are no other, concerns from the commission, I'll make a motion that we approve use permit 13-008, based on findings of fact 1 through 6, conditions of approval 1 through 26, and just like to tell the applicant, you don't have to be nervous. It's all good.
I second that.
Okay, Commissioner Mishra seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and there's a 10-day appeal period. Thank you. I'll move on to item 5B, which is 555 San Mateo Avenue. It's a request for a use permit and parking exception to allow a personal fitness center within the CBD per chapters 1296, 120C7, and 12100, 120 of the San Bruno Municipal Code. Staff report, please.
Thank you and good evening. As mentioned, the application is for a personal fitness center in the downtown area. The building is approximately 3,120 square feet. It has been vacant for some time, as you're probably aware. The applicant is proposing a fitness center that would include individual and group classes. They specialize in CrossFit, but they do have some other offerings as well. They also have a retail component, which would be located towards the front of the store and would include merchandise that's related to the fitness industry, such as Reebok shoes and apparel, supplements, and sports equipment. Their proposed hours of operation would be from Monday through Friday from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Saturday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So during that time, the retail merchandise would be for sale, and then the group classes and the individual classes would be spread throughout that day in the pattern that we're aware of, with the group classes being primarily in the morning and towards the end of the day. Staff does find that this significant retail portion of the business would help to activate the street front and create that pedestrian orientation that we like to see in the downtown. As you know, recreational uses, fitness uses are conditional use in the downtown, which is why the conditional use permit is before you this evening. And staff does find that that retail component helps to make it a desirable use in fitting into the neighborhood. The second entitlement tonight is for a parking exception. And regarding parking, the proposed personal fitness center requires more parking than the previous use, which was retail. So retail requires one parking space for 250 square feet, so that's 13 spaces. And the fitness use requires one parking space for 200 square feet for 16 spaces. So the net increase for this project is 3 parking spaces. So as you know, we typically analyze the city parking lots in the surrounding area. Staff has done a number of surveys over the years. And we find that the 3 closest lots to this space still have plenty of parking space left. So you know we use that 85% occupancy threshold as a common best practice within planning and transportation in our field. So we still have plenty of room before we reach that 85% kind of optimal level. We sent out the legal notice, of course, and we have not received any comments from any neighbors on the project. So we would recommend approval of the project based on findings of fact 1 through 5 and conditions of approval 1 through 18. The conditions in this case are all the standard conditions that we would apply to this type of use in this location. I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for staff? Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing for this item and ask, is the applicant present? If so, please go to the podium and make any presentation you wish. Give your name and street name, please.
Nicholas Scarbosio, co-founder CrossFit 650, and we're applying for 555 San Mateo Avenue for a conditional use permit.
Lucas Robinson, co-founder CrossFit 650.
And I'm Shannon Welch with Welch Family Partnership and San Bruno Investment. We own and manage the next 2 items on this agenda. So if you have any questions, please ask.
Thank you.
As for the use for the business, I think staff did a pretty good job in relaying what we intend to do. My partner and I have been doing CrossFit ourselves for many years and are trying to take our love for it and kind of pass it on to the community and try to work with kids, adults, seniors, any age group, and just trying to help make a healthier community. A big thing that we run into is a place to do so, and we've had a hard time finding people in the city who would work with us. Welch has been great to give us this opportunity, and we'd like to get the use permit so that we can hopefully start operating a business on the main drag of San Bruno and try and help the town.
Great, thank you. Any commission questions for the applicant? Thank you again. Are there any other members of the public who'd like to comment on this application? Okay, seeing no additional commenters, I'd like to close the public hearing, bring the item back to the commission for discussion or a motion.
Through the chair,
Commissioner Mishra.
there's no comments. I'd like to move that the planning commission approve use permit 14-008 and planning exception 14-003 based on findings of fact 1 through 5 and conditions of approval 1 through 18.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and there's a 10-day appeal period. Thank you very much. The next item, from which Commissioner Biasotti is recusing himself, is 116 Santa Dominga Avenue. It's a request for a conditional use permit to allow a motor vehicle dealer in the general commercial zoning district for section 1296-110C8 of the San Bruno zoning ordinance. Staff report, please.
Thank you. As stated, the applicant has applied for a use permit to operate a motor vehicle dealer in the C General Commercial District. The site is located on the south side of Santa Dominga, just east of El Camino
Could
Real.
you speak up just a little bit? It's coming across the sound system sort of weak. Thank you.
Definitely,
Thank
yes.
you very much.
So the site is located on the south side of Santa Dominga Avenue, just east of El Camino Real. The overall lot area is 5,350 square feet, and the commercial building is 3,950 square feet. The site is currently vacant, but was most recently occupied by a car audio retail establishment. Regarding the proposal, the applicant is proposing to establish a used car dealership. The general hours of operation would be Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's important to note that this will be an owner-operated business and there will be no employees. The applicant is proposing to store all of the vehicles within the existing commercial building. Additionally, all vehicle maintenance will be conducted off-site. When analyzing a use permit request, the intent of the use permit process is really to evaluate the use in relation to the existing land uses and to ensure that it won't have a negative impact on the surrounding residential areas. El Camino Real consists of a variety of land uses ranging from hotels, motels, retail establishments, restaurants, car dealerships, and in certain instances, auto repair. We do find that the proposal is consistent with those land uses found on El Camino Real. What's important to note is that this site is directly or sits just to the west of the R2 residential zoning district. Staff finds that the business will not negatively impact that surrounding residential use. We do find that the proposed use is relatively low impact and will have, due to the limited hours of operation and the fact that customers will only be able to view the cars on an appointment basis. As previously noted, the business will be run solely by the business owner and there will be no additional employees. Lastly, as previously noted, all of the vehicles will be stored within the existing commercial structure. And staff has added specific conditions of approval due to the site's close proximity to the neighborhood. Condition of approval number 10 requires that all vehicles be stored within the existing commercial structure. It also prohibits any vehicle from parking in the public street within the surrounding residential neighborhood. Condition of approval number 12 prohibits the use of any intercom or amplified sound systems. Condition of approval number 14 prohibits vehicle repair and maintenance on site. Condition of approval number 15 requires that all vehicle deliveries take place during the normal hours of operation, which would be Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And lastly, condition of approval number 18 requires that if the cars will be test driven, that they exit the site immediately and go towards El Camino Real. At no time would test drives be allowed within the surrounding residential neighborhood. Staff did send the required 300-foot notification, and we did receive one comment. That neighbor was primarily concerned with test drives, that if they were to take place, she did not want them taking place within the residential neighborhood, and we have addressed that with the condition of approval. That property owner was also concerned with potential parking and traffic impacts. And staff did note that the applicant is proposing to store those vehicles within the existing commercial building, and we do have conditions of approval essentially requiring that. I would like to point out condition of approval number 11. We're going to have to modify that specific condition of approval. Currently, it states that the fuel shall be removed from all vehicles prior to being parked within the existing commercial structure. And essentially, we're going to eliminate that condition and change it with the following language, which states the fuel shall be removed from all vehicles prior to being parked within the, it's going to say that all vehicles for sale shall comply with section 314.4 of the 2013 California Building Code. Essentially what that 2003, that's the fire code, not the building code. The 2013 fire code states that all batteries have to be disconnected for vehicles stored within an existing commercial structure. It also states that fuel and fuel tanks don't exceed the 1/4 mark or 5 gallons, whichever is less. Additionally, fuel tanks must be closed and sealed to prevent tampering. And lastly, vehicles cannot be fueled or defueled within the existing building. With those conditions, staff would recommend that the Planning Commission approve the use permit, subject to findings of fact 1 through 3, and conditions of approval 1 through 18, with the modification to condition of approval number 11 as noted. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Just to see if I understand, condition 10, it says vehicles for sale shall be parked within the existing commercial structure. Does that prohibit the owner-operator from driving one or two out in front of the business during the hours of operation?
I guess during the hours of operation, the cars for sale could not be located outside of that existing commercial structure, meaning they couldn't advertise those cars for sale, and those cars for sale couldn't sit in front of the existing commercial structure. They would be located directly in that, or be required to be located in that building.
So through the chair, would that mean, in other words, there's no chance that then they're going to be parked on the street or on El Camino with the for sale sign, because they're going to be in that particular structure that we're concerned with tonight?
Correct, and it's important to note that the applicant, essentially that's the way he proposed the business to us, that the cars themselves would be stored within the existing building.
So, just to see if I understand this, imagine that a customer is coming to see a particular car, is going to test drive it, so the owner-operator can't put the car out in front of the building in one of those parking spaces?
I mean, there is some leeway there. If they were going to take the car out 5 minutes prior to the arrival of the customer, because all essentially local customers are required to schedule an appointment, so I think there is some leeway there. So if the applicant did want to park the vehicle out for 5 minutes and is waiting there for the customer, I think that would be consistent with the overall intent of the condition of approval.
Okay, I'm just looking to understand it to the point that we don't approve something that later on is impractical to operate. So I appreciate your time.
Correct.
Commissioner Samud.
Yeah, Matt, can you explain why we need a use permit on this? When I think the prior tenant was an auto dealership or auto sales. Did they not, were they in before they needed a use permit?
Correct. That particular car dealership did not have a conditional use permit. So therefore, to reestablish the used car sales, a conditional use permit was required.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Thank you very much. I'd like to open the public hearing and ask if is the applicant present. Please come to the podium and make any presentation you wish. Give your name and street name. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike Fleifel. My address is 220 Lumira Avenue. I'm the applicant for 116 Sana Dominga Avenue. So currently I own two businesses here in San Bruno. One of them is at the mall, at Tanforan Mall, which is a national franchise business, which is Cinnabon. And the other one is on El Camino Real, which is deli and grocery together. The address is 1776 El Camino Real. I've been actually operating both businesses with my brother successfully for the past 9 years. 8 years at the mall, 9 years the other one. So now I'm planning to expand and open this pre-owned car dealer business. So I think Matt already covered most of the operational statement and business plan. Anyways, my cars will be offered for sale online on different websites such as eBay and Craigslist and other websites. And local customers can come and see the cars by appointment only, since it's just a showroom. So it's going to be a showroom, not opened all day long for the public. So it's going to be only by appointment. So they can come and look at the car by appointment. And also we're planning to be, like shipping cars to different states, to different places, which will be shipped by local, shipping businesses and towing businesses, which will benefit some local businesses. Also, my business will benefit other local businesses such as auto body shops and mechanic shops and some other businesses. And that's all about it. It's actually a very simple operation business. I'm going to be the only operator, manager, owner, and everything, since it's just going to the auction, buy cars, and advertise them online, send them, ship them, nationwide, or just make appointments for customers who are locally living in this area. So that's going to be it. Thank you so much. And if you guys have any questions, please go ahead. I will be happy to discuss.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the applicant? No questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Any other members of the public like to comment on the application? Hearing none. And without- Whoop, here we go. Please step to the podium, give your name and street name. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Dennis Harder, and I am a property owner right there on Santa Dominga, actually 116 Santa Dominga. And I want to be a good neighbor, and I do support small businesses. But the concern that I do have is parking. It's a huge problem on that block. Before you even entertain the business there, or even without that business there, it's a huge problem. A lot of locals that are coming to other businesses that are on El Camino park back onto that street. We have a hard time even getting into our house or having, even for guest parking, there's no guest parking at all. There is I don't even know who owns the van. There's some van out there with graffiti on it. You've probably seen it down there. I would love to see that be gone. But anyway, that's my biggest concern. The other owner that used to have the business wasn't a car. It was more audio. And they had quite. I went over and talked to him quite a few times to try to keep the noise down, because they'd play audio out of the cars and a lot of noise. So that was kind of a disturbance. But other than that, it's a nice neighborhood. The people are great there. You'll enjoy it. And I welcome you to the neighborhood. But I just want to make sure that the parking is the biggest concern, and the noise. And then what type of cars are you going to be there? Is it just high-end cars, or are they just...
It's going to be mostly luxury cars.
Luxury cars?
Yeah, it's a showroom, so, online business, so it's going to be luxury cars. And as I said, it's going to be advertised on eBay, so it might be shipping cars.
Okay.
To the States, I think.
Good, so it's higher end, not...
Excuse me, sir. Please, the protocol here is you address the chair.
Sorry.
And don't have a discussion with the audience at this time.
Sorry, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So those are basically my concerns. And then as far as the selling of the vehicles, I don't have a problem, if there's a car out in the front or whatever, but I understand how your business, I get how your business is going to run. So, but the biggest thing I have is just the parking, is how can we clean that up? And is there a solution for this in the future for parking on that street?
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other members of the public like to comment on this application? Hearing none, and without objection, I'll close the public hearing and bring the matter back to the commission for discussion or a motion.
Through the chair.
Commissioner Chase.
Just to address, hopefully, some of what the last citizen was, talking about. It seems to me, maybe I'm way off, but the businesses the previous business, the audio one versus this one, are going to create two different type of parking issues. It seems to me, I know people go in there, get your stereo put in, you're going to want to mill around, maybe listen to it, you're going to get that blaring music, people are pulling in and deciding whether or not they want to get a stereo or what type, which definitely I could see would create a parking issue for that neighborhood. And hopefully, from what I'm envisioning anyway, with this particular business, that would not be the case. And I hope I'm right and not wrong. Whereas if it's going to be by appointment only, you're not going to have a bunch of cars in the showroom where people are going to be pulling over and, looky-looing and all that. If it's more high-end and if it's more geared towards online, hopefully that will eliminate some of the parking issues that are currently being experienced in that part of the neighborhood. Having said that, I hope that works. I hope that comes to fruition, but that's what I'd like to say about that.
Thank you. Any other commission comments or a motion?
Well, if there's no other comments, then I'll make a motion. First, that it doesn't become a reality TV show. And but more seriously, I guess I'll make a motion to approve use permit 14-004 based on findings of fact 1 through 3, conditions of approval 1 through 18. We didn't add any other ones, did we? No. Okay.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Let's hold this in abeyance for a moment. Staff?
I would just like to note that we didn't modify condition of approval.
Right.
Yes,
noted.
correct. Okay, and there's a motion, and
Second.
Commissioner Mishra seconded it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There's a 10-day appeal period. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 6, discussion, city staff discussion. Staff, please.
Chair Peterson, at this point in the agenda, the staff is looking for 3 volunteers for the next Architectural Review Committee meeting in May. So if we could have 3 volunteers for that meeting, please.
Do you know the date?
Yes.
May 15th.
The date is May 15th.
Oh, the 15th. Okay.
May 15th.
Right, sorry. Right in front of me. Commissioner Biasotti
Okay.
and Commissioner Samud,
Okay, smooth.
Commissioner Peterson.
Great. Thank you very much.
Good choices.
All right, we'll move on to item number 6B, appoint a new Planning Commission Vice Chair.
Chair Peterson, with Vice Chair Marshall departing from the Planning Commission, we have a vacancy in this position. So the next person in line, according to our schedule, would be Commissioner Johnson for consideration. Commissioner Johnson is not here this evening. Following Commissioner Johnson, the next person would be Commissioner Chase. So I would offer those 2 as options for you to consider this evening and would encourage you to move forward and make a selection tonight. Thank you.
Oh, through the chair?
Commissioner Chase.
I'll make a motion that if Commissioner Johnson is interested in it, that she take the vice chair position.
Second.
All right, this is not let's see, well, we have voted
She's
for
not
that,
here,
I
for sure.
suppose. Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, so the commission has decided to wait until we can hear from Commissioner Johnson. And let me ask a question on that subject. If Commissioner Johnson finds it not a good time to be vice chair, would you accept that, Commissioner?
I would gladly accept
Chase?
that.
Okay. Excellent. Okay.
So
we'll
at the
see what
next meeting, we'll
happens.
confirm.
Let's hope Mary confirms.
Thank you.
And the next item is about the League of California Cities Planning Commissioners Academy. I'd like to ask Director Waltering for his input on this. I have a few comments too.
I'd be happy to provide input. It was a great meeting. It was a great opportunity for the chair and myself to go locally to hear about a variety of planning issues that were being discussed. Variety of topics. The topics included an update on the California Environmental Quality Act, which was very helpful. There was also a discussion about roles and responsibilities of the Planning Commission and just planning commissioners as a panel kind of giving examples of what they experienced and how they dealt with different situations, including dealing with kind of difficult topics and difficult people. It was, entertaining on the one hand, but also very informative and helpful. And just the idea of just letting people on the one hand kind of speak their minds, but on the other hand, kind of looking at ways to kind of control and manage the input received and everything discussed, from providing ground rules at the outset so that if you know that you're having a difficult meeting, to really, as a chair, say, for example, really establish clear ground rules for the attendees and then use things like timers and so forth. That was very helpful. I think kind of a difference for me at this particular meeting, we often go to these meetings and we hear about CEQA and roles and responsibilities and design review, and all those topics were discussed. But at this particular meeting, there were a number of sessions talking about technology, use of modern technology in a variety of ways. And one area where they had 2 or 3 sessions was talking to the local jurisdictions about how we can use technology to better engage the public, both in terms of public hearings and meetings, but also in terms of serving the public as far as online applications, processing applications using modern technology, and then the whole idea of using social media to reach out to the public when there are important issues before the community, so that individuals don't necessarily need to come to a hearing, but can be reached 7 days a week, 24 hours a day by way of technology, social media, so that as there's an important issue, we can put that out, receive feedback, and then get kind of a sense of who's responding, where are they, who are they, what does it mean for the community. So I think this particular Planning Commissioners Academy really emphasized the use of technology and encouraging us, both as staff and as commissioners, to encourage the use of technology in our community. So I thought that was very helpful. And then finally, there was a keynote speaker at the end that talked about trends, mega trends in our society, and it was quite interesting. I thought a very good ending to the session, and just talking about a variety of things, such as looking at autonomous vehicles coming up in the future, and the use, the broader use of electric vehicles, and the fact that today we're looking at Teslas, for example, that may be $100,000, but maybe in 2 or 3 years, the Teslas and other electric vehicles that will come out will be much less expensive and be able to reach a much broader market area, and what that means in terms of oil and gas and how we live and work and our environment. And I thought that was quite interesting. I mean, he was suggesting that just in a short period of time, 3 or 4 years, that we could see huge changes in terms of the use of the electric vehicles. So, overall, I felt kind of a sense of change, transformation, that things are changing in our society, and sometimes we get so involved in our day-to-day work, we're not kind of seeing these larger changes that are occurring about us. So it was a nice opportunity to take a couple of days and just kind of be aware of some of these things going on about us, and maybe a chance for us to bring some of those ideas into our community and into the way we do our work. So I thought it was very worthwhile. I really appreciated the opportunity to go.
Great, and from my view, having attended with Director Waltering, it was a great pleasure for me to have him seated next to me so I could ask him his views and how he thought some of these presentations related to San Bruno. To take one of his last phrases, change in society related to planning, it was evident in at least 50% of the presentations. It was a very strong message that change is happening in society now that is affected through planning and with planning support, or without it if we don't take an active role. In particular, there are laws on the books about greenhouse emissions, about various other aspects of water and power. The presentation on the transportation aspect was made by, I think it was Tony Seba, who's an authority in the area, and it was his assertion that within another 10 years, the bulk of cars on the road will be electric vehicles. And I think the best thing about, one of the best things about that is it'll have a dramatic effect on reducing carbon emissions. You can imagine now if half of the cars were not emitting carbon dioxide, what a tremendous difference that would make. But In addition, from a planning, more of a strictly planning viewpoint, there was a presentation on the general plan for Fresno. And they did something I had never even heard of, and I'm not sure there were too many other people at the meeting that had heard about it. They rated various approaches to changing their general plan and had numeric rankings as to how it would affect growth, how it would affect greenhouse gas emissions, the impacts it would have on energy consumption. And so they were able to recognize this and take some actions to come up with a general plan that was better for sustainability and better for the community's economy as a whole. I thought that was quite amazing. There was a tremendous emphasis on collaborative planning, that is, obtaining input from the community on planning and what the correct steps would be to reach not only the residents and the businesses, but the objectives as the community as a whole. And they emphasize using technology to enable more participation in planning by the community. I would like to say I understood that better than I did. I've been involved with computers for many, many years professionally, but the gentlemen who made many of these presentations were at the forefront of programming for involvement of the public, the general public, in planning issues. It was their assertion that it's easy, and they cited success after success in cities in the Bay Area, such as Palo Alto. They even asserted that there was assistance available at no charge through organizations that had technical people who were willing to come to a city and assist it. I don't know how practical this is. It sounded very good. Sometimes things that sound very good don't turn out quite as well as you might think, but just the idea that it's possible to make improvements in planning through more effective involvement of public input and private input, I think was great. So you can tell I was happy as a clam that I went to this presentation. I didn't find it as much as a learning opportunity from being instructed on how to be a planning commissioner as it was introducing the planning commissioners to what was going on throughout the state of California. Not to mention that right at the outset of the conference, there was a pre-conference workshop on the ethics requirements for every 2 years. So Director Woltering and I were able to revalidate our ethics registration, and I found it to be very nice to have another update on that. The presentation was great. So having said that, there are documents. Many of these documents are on the Planning Commission website right now. The whole program listing is not there. I'm going to give my copy to staff, and that will be posted shortly. And if you have any questions or you'd like to look at the documents in paper format, you'd be welcome to use my copy if you like. Having said that, the next item here is there's a proposal for a council planning commission discussion of the process and needs for filling the planning commission vacancy. And as I understand it, the plan as proposed by the council is to ask for 2 volunteers from the planning commission to participate with 2 volunteers from the council to discuss this. so that the council and the commission can have a discussion and make a more informed choice. I'd like to welcome Councilperson Irene O'Connell here, and I hope I've introduced this satisfactorily. Okay. Director Waltering, do you have any comments on this?
I'd just like to point out that this is, an add-on that I mentioned to Chair Peterson this evening, so it's not specifically listed on your agenda, but, we checked with our city attorney, and there's no problem here in discussing this. And I've asked Chair Peterson if he would go forward tonight and select two individuals from the commission that could work with a city council subcommittee. And the purpose of the subcommittee work is, as the chair has indicated, really to discuss the process and the needs in filling the vacancy on the Planning Commission. So it's an opportunity for two of you to meet with a subcommittee of the City Council to talk about moving forward with the recruitment to fill this vacancy.
And this is particularly of interest because there hasn't been a vacancy for many years. Are there one or more commissioners who would like to participate? Commissioner Biasotti. Anyone else? Commissioner Samut. If there's no objection, I would like to appoint you to fill this role, and I commend you to report back to us and let us know how it's going when you have meetings from time to time. I think this is great. This is the first time in my memory that there's been anything like this collaboration, and I think it'll be a great thing. Could I ask you to use the podium so that people can hear you?
Irene O'Connell, Acacia Avenue. I don't get to do that very often. We're interested in what you are looking for. I mean, we appoint you, we interview people, and it's pretty superficial, as you all remember when you did your own, and we realize and recognize how important the Planning Commission is to how the whole city operates and how it looks. And 20 years from now, your mark is on the city. Your mark is on the city every year. So we want not only what you're looking for, but what you're not looking for, what you don't want someone to come with. So that's partly why we're doing it. So thank you very much. And I would think it would be appropriate for if the rest of the commissioners have particular likes or dislikes or comments to make, they could tell the two representatives and bring it to the subcommittee. So I think that's appropriate. Okay, so thank you.
Great advice. Thank you very much. Any comments by the commission?
Yeah, through the
Commissioner
chair.
Samut.
Not on this topic or another topic?
On this or another topic.
Okay, so two things. Over the past couple of months, I've dealt with planning commissions from a couple of different cities here on the peninsula on the applicant side. And I would like to thank our planning department for what I think is a great job dealing with the public, explaining options to the public, and truly we are the city with a heart, because I got to tell you, the heads and shoulders above what I've had to deal with. And I never did get a chance to play the planning commissioner card. But and then second, I've lived in San Bruno now about 38 years, and always, San Mateo Avenue has always kind of been San Mateo Avenue, and then recently the Avenue. But as our second applicant tonight described it as the main drag, I've never heard it called the main drag before, and I'm sure there are a couple of people rolling over in their graves about that, but I kind of like that. I thought that was kind of a cool thing to say.
Great.
That's it.
I'm glad to hear your input about our city, although I have to confess I've thought our staff reports have been outstanding for many years. And I think a lot of that, of course, is due to the staff, but the leadership is unquestionably very important. Commissioner Mishra.
Through the chair, one comment. Quite often we get comments about, say, for example, parking today. And I heard about this mentioning about reaching out to those, hidden souls out there that are only available through social media. But when things get brought up in this forum or any other forum, such as parking issues, et cetera, what does the city do about it? And if we don't address any of the minor comments that come as offshoots here, reaching out to the greater public really doesn't do anything because they don't see any improvements in their mind. So what is the process here? If someone mentions that they were having parking problems on this particular avenue, they're not here anymore, what do we do in order to either forward it to another committee or another department, or what happens?
Well, obviously, staff is taking that information in, for example, and so there are a couple of things that happened this evening. For one thing, I think Commissioner Chase pointed out that with the different sort of land use that you were looking at this particular location, chances are the parking situation or circumstance would actually improve with the change in land use. And I thought that Commissioner Chase said that very well. So I thought that was good feedback for the people who were here and the person asking the question. In terms of the overall street, the street segment, we're hearing that. And so as we go back and talk to our colleagues, for example, in public services and whatnot, we'll bring that up at staff meetings and talk about different things that can be done to address situations like that. I think to a large extent, we are looking at some turnover of land use. And as you are thinking about use permits and permits and approvals, entitlements specifically, it's one thing to be thinking about in terms of, what is the parking impact? And so on a regular basis as you meet, oftentimes there are parking exceptions before you and issues like that before you. So that's an issue you're dealing with and we're dealing with on a larger level in terms of working with other staff and our policy documents and whatnot.
So
Laura, if I could go a little bit further, if you don't mind, just with, as Laura Russell's working with the zoning code update, for example, it's a bigger picture issue as well. So as Laura, our senior planner, is working with the zoning code update, and as that will come back to you and the city council, that will be an opportunity too to be thinking about our street segments, our corridors, and land uses, and what the different land uses mean in terms of not only urban design, but parking impacts and parking standards and requirements. So I think that the zoning code update, as an example, as I say, the information comes back and we process it, work with it. I think for Laura and myself and the other staff, Matt and others, that's an opportunity for us to kind of feed back into the zoning code update and then feed it back to you and the city council to address issues that came up like tonight.
I'm sorry. So besides the larger global issues, the one that kind of stuck in my mind that I was referring to was the graffiti-ridden van that was mentioned. So that's I guess I live in more of a world of instant gratification. And so that was one specific issue that someone just pointed out that could have made their life a lot better if it was gone tomorrow. And if it's been around for a while and no one's done anything about it. So I was more focused on that end than the larger global issues that we are tackling.
So as an example, just in terms of conduct of meeting, as a comment like that comes up, a suggestion for the commission, a suggestion would be in the case of, say, the van with graffiti on it, the chair or one of the commissioners through the chair could suggest back to staff, staff, we heard about this van this evening with graffiti on it. It sounds as though it may be there on a regular basis. Staff, we would appreciate it through code enforcement or through other sources you have to check into that and report back to us. Is that an inoperable vehicle? What's the condition or circumstance? Is that a matter that could be addressed? We'll do that anyway. But in terms of feeding back to the audience and really letting them know that they're heard, that would be a way Commissioner Mishra to kind of make sure that they're understanding that they're being heard. And we will then follow up and come back to you. We'll have code enforcement say in a case like this, check in and see if we can identify the vehicle. Is it a code violation? It may not be, but is it a code violation? If it is, we'll follow up. We'll, issue a citation or notice of violation or what have you, whatever is appropriate.
Thanks. I think Commissioner Biassatti is going to be walking up and down that street anyway.
Thank you. Any other commissioner discussion?
Through the chair.
Commissioner Biassatti?
The PDFs that you were talking about, that's on the League of Cities website?
They're on the City of San Bruno's website. You go to the Planning Commission main page for the Planning Commission. They're right at the bottom of that.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could add to that, the chair asked if we would add to that the overall program. We will do that. And then he also asked if we would add the handout that was provided that kind of summarizes the ethics program that the chair and I went through, and we'll add that as well.
Thank you. And also, is that available to the public if anybody wanted to take a peek at that as long as it's on the website?
It's right there.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
These items are on the Planning Commission homepage for the Planning Commission right at the bottom of the page. And you click on them, the document opens right up. So anybody who wants to look at it will find it there. And we'll be adding a couple items from this in the next day or so. Any other Planning Commission discussion? I just hate to omit an item that is potentially the 800-pound parking gorilla in the room. The City of San Bruno has garages that are as often as not used for storage or family rooms as parking. I don't know how the city could kind of play ever changing that, but if there are no parking places on the street and there's no space in the garage, that might have some relationship. Just a thought. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.